Hi, this is David with entry number 500, 627, 28. I'm coming at you in front of this red place. It says Soul Cosmetics. And there's something I kind of wanted to discuss for a while now, but haven't really found the right time to. Maybe I have already talked about it and I've forgotten, which is more likely the case. But the idea of kind of the loss or diminishing of one's culture. I would like to think that America has had a pretty good grip on its culture for about as long as it's been in existence. You know, we are a people of many places, and we've kind of deemed it a kind of, I don't know, like a sentimental thing that we are a melting pot, that we are kind of a mishmash, a hodgepodge, a blended soup, if you will. But it's funny because whenever a new group of foreigners seems to want to come to the US, you have this tight-knit group or older group of Americans who deny that group their right to be American. And so you've seen it with Italians and Irish and Germans and Jews and blacks and Mexicans and all these kinds of people who are all denied their right or their freedom or whatever to kind of live how they wanted to. And you kind of have to think about why that is. And I wanted to talk specifically in front of one of these places because Korea right now is actually undergoing a very strange flux that most countries, go through. And that is kind of this dissolution of their culture, of their kind of brand per se, or so to speak, I should say. And what does that mean? And I don't know if it really means anything, because what is a culture but just a group of people who seem to do the same things, or like talk the same language or whatever. And in the US we kind of went through this thing where after a couple hundred years we kind of determined that it doesn't really matter, all these things like language and all this. It more matters kind of like the feeling that you get when you're a part of that place, in that country I should say. And for the most part I would say America is still somewhere that is much more, I would say, tolerant of foreign people being in our country. And it's a very fascinating thing because it took us 200 years to get there. But you have places like Korea that have fast-tracked that tolerance, or that intolerance maybe. And you have places like this makeup place that have opened up. And they're essentially catering to the Chinese market. A huge swath of Korea's tourism now is dedicated to the Chinese. It's dedicated to their feeding and care. Of course, the number one is still the English speakers, but they don't come as much. And because China is very relatively close, you get a large influx of Chinese visitors. And a big part of Korea's cachet or sexiness is the fact that the people are supposedly more beautiful. And so the big reason, why they're beautiful is because they have the best cosmetics available to them. They're all like on the cutting edge, the razor's edge, the kind of tip of the spear, so to speak. And it's a very fascinating thing to see how quickly they've kind of conformed to the Chinese market. These are very unique thing. Like, I don't think these kind of things are in the US. And they're like these specific places where they aggregate things, Korean things, and they sell them to Chinese. They have Koreans that speak fluent Mandarin usually that work there, and they take Chinese debit cards, Chinese bank cards, and it's a very kind of, sorry about that, it's a very kind of fascinating system that they set up here to cater directly to Chinese tourism. I don't really know, if it's sustainable or if it's right even. I think a lot of people would argue that it's kind of messed up, but the money's there. We're talking millions upon millions of dollars here. Not just like a few million, but like tens of millions. If you go to certain areas of Korea, there are dozens and dozens and dozens of buses of Chinese tourists here every single day. And it's a crazy thing to think about. It really is. But anyway, today's been very good. As you can see that it's very wet. We've had a huge downpour the last few hours, and it got really wet, and now I'm drying out. It's been just an overall pretty good day, I would say. I did find 2 places I've spent the last 2 days looking for, so that was a big win. And overall, I would say that it's been going pretty well for me. So anyway, that's about it. Talk with you later. Bye.